Well, this is it. The big day that I graduate from college. You know, looking back, I haven't had the best experience ever, but I wouldn't say it was the worst. College culture has certainly changed over the years, and today's film is an example of how it used to be compared to the contemporary scene. There are hundreds of movies I could have looked at for this final episode, but out of all of them, I chose to leave you guys on this particular film. It had to be the one film that had changed the University of Oregon forever. Ladies and gents, this is my review of National Lampoon's Animal House.
I should start off with where the University of Oregon fits into the cinematic scene. University of Oregon isn't the biggest name ever, but one of the first films on the campus was a black and white film called Ed's Coed in 1929, and to describe it would be a bit simplistic. And one of the coolest facts about the university's relationship to Hollywood was that Walt Disney visited here and gave the university the liberty of using Donald Duck as a mascot for a while. That was until the university wanted to enter the mascot contest, for which they had to give up that design for a better, more recognizable mascot for college sports.
You may be yelling at the screen, when does Animal House come into this story? Well, first off, I can't hear you, and second, we must establish how the production got here in the first place. So we will have to start with the first feature film to try to film here, The Graduate. That's right, the Dustin Hoffman film about a college boy and a cougar originally wanted to film the college sequences at this particular institution. But after disagreements, the production moved to USC. This obviously caused some controversy and envy within the leadership at University of Oregon. The Graduate's success with critics and the box office led to them deciding that the next flick to come into town will be accepted to film at their location. Thus, we have National Lampoon's Animal House in all of its glory.
National Lampoon at the time was a satirical magazine aimed to take shots at the establishment and its conventions with an uncouth humor. And at the time, the company was aiming to make a feature film talking about college, since that was their major key demographic in the 1970s. The film was directed by John Landis, a first-time director who is most famous for The Blues Brothers, Coming to America, An American Werewolf in London, and most famously, The opening scenes of the film showcase many parts at the university: Johnson Hall, or the President's Hall, Carson Hall, a dorm building, Knight Library, minus the statue, and of course the Phi Kappa Psi and Sigma Nu houses. Of course, the original building for the Delta fraternity was demolished in 1986, and today rests a plaque talking about the house's history in Eugene, as well as a small little tiny mention to the film it was most famous for.
This film has had a great influence on the University of Oregon as a whole, even to the point where it's even now tradition to screen the film for the campus at the end of the year. But after all the praise I hear from everyone and their dog, how does the film hold up? To put it simply, it isn't as great as everyone says it is, but it has its merits.
All the cast, Belushi especially, play their characters well, delivering jokes at a moderate pace. But what is most memorable about the film is how Looney Tunes it all is. What I mean by this is rather than having an overarching narrative with deep characters and themes, as well as being funny, the film just creates scenes that have comedic payoffs with little to no connective tissues.
To put simply, the film is just a bunch of skits that otherwise would not have paid off. It's just, setups and payoffs. They're all just skits stitched together by a very loose storyline. This isn't to say that it's bad, I'm just observing the obvious with this film.
The film is definitely reflexive of the type of humor associated with the Lampoon brand, the type that staunch traditionalists would scoff at. An example of this would be with Donald Sutherland's character who plays a college professor, Professor Jennings. That isn't very professional, who smokes weed with his students and has relations with Marion from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
As far as the comedy itself, it's very subjective. I have heard everything that the film has sexist humor, misogynist and racist undertones, and all I have to say to these claims are two things. The first response is, well, no shit. The comedy is of its time, so it is bound to offend. Thus is the nature of comedy. But the other response is that the film works because of this outrage. Remember, the magazine was designed for those who didn't care for the rules of conventional society, taking jabs at things that people hold sacred, so the consistent whining about the film only serves to support the cause of the company's whole bottom line. As for my personal take on the comedy, some sections stick out above the others. One of the most memorable scenes is actually filmed at the campus's Herb Memorial Union.
See if you can guess what I am now. I'm a zit. Get it?
But by far, the one sequence that changed campus's history was with the Otis Day and the Night sequence. And no, I will not be playing the music for this one. The whole musical scene created a tradition at sporting events where everyone sings and dances to the song at halftime. To many Duck fans and citizens in Eugene, it is an essential part of the sport viewing experience. As far as a film goes, there are times that the film is a bit bland. It isn't terrible. Nowadays, this doesn't fully hold up in entertainment. In terms of college comedies, this is probably the only one that is actually funny.
Overall, I would say that Animal House is a time capsule of the 1970s. The rebellious nature of the youth, the party culture that had inspired Greek culture, the nihilistic behavior to life, are all parts of the larger text of the film. In execution, it isn't subtextual, it is blatantly just put into the forefront.
At the end of the day, what Animal House represents nowadays is to have fun with life. Sometimes you need to party away the ills of your life, but afterwards you need to deal with these troubles with stride. This is what I'm going to take away from this film with me as I leave today. It is hard to imagine a world without this film. Would the campus I've called home for 3 years be as big of a party town as if it hadn't been made? Would National Lampoon still be around? Will we never have a reason to shout? Whatever the answer is, we can all forget about it with a song on a guitar. Take it away, maestro!
I gave my love a chicken that had no bones. I gave my love a story that had no end. I give...
Maybe not. Whatever. I'm going to give National Lampoon's Animal House a C+. All I know is that the next few years will make me want to
shout, kick my heels up.